Hello again, everybody. This is Shauna Lofi of Shauna Lofi Portraits. I just want to take you through some basic editing tips that I've learned from back when Photoshop was version 3 in the mid-90s. And a lot of the skills that I learned back then, I still carry on to today. I don't use too many actions or programs other than Portrait Professional to do some photo editing as far as the face and getting playing with skin textures. But when it's some minor things and I have a little bit more time and I want to be a little bit more precise, I'll do everything the old-fashioned way and use Photoshop and use cloning and blurring to achieve those effects. So I'm going to take you through some basic Photoshop editing with this particular image here. Mary wanted a little Marie Antoinette inspired photo shoot from a dress that she found, this little dress, in a flea market. And we went to photograph her at a hotel that had this amazing textured wallpaper. And when it comes to editing things that have textures on the backgrounds and you need to do some cloning and some warping, it's a little bit more difficult. Luckily, this image doesn't have a whole lot of imperfections that I need to change in the background. Obviously, I need to edit out this exit sign, which I didn't position her in front of, which what I would normally do, but because I needed some more of this background. And as you can see, her arm is coming off the edge of this wall frame, but I wanted to edit that anyways. I already knew when I photographed this image that I wanted to crop it. So let's get started on that. I'm going to go over to my tools palette and click on the crop palette, or sorry, the crop tool. And you'll see these little bounding box appear with these dashed lines. Now I'm going to drag in one corner using my shift key and bring it down in to her elbow right here. I'm going to leave some space above her head so that when we go to frame this, it doesn't cut off her hand, because I want to keep that as part of the composition. And then I'm going to go to the right side and click and drag it in till just before I see that door frame right there. And I think I like it. It's just repositioned slightly. Okay, good. So now I'm going to hit return, and I'm going to zoom back in. So I'm going to hit Command plus. And you can see I cut off a little bit more of this exit sign, but we're going to clone this out. And I'm going to take out a little bit of this green casting light that's coming in from this exit sign. You can see you can't see because it's off camera. So let's go in and start editing out this exit sign. So I'm going to click on the clone stamp tool, and I want to make the size of the brush a little larger. Right now it's at 13 points, and you can't see it's barely showing a little circle there. That's not wide enough. I'm going to bring it up to 100, which is a click and type it in. And you can see that's just a little bit bigger, maybe 125. Okay. And I'm going to click on my option tool, or sorry, option key on my keyboard. And you can see that it's appearing these little crosshairs in where that circle is. So it's just going to select and target this background that you're going to paint over this exit sign. So I'm going to hold down my option key and click that background, and then you can see as I drag over my mouse over to the exit sign, a little dot of color appears. That's that background. We're going to paint over it, over this exit sign now. So again, I'm going to click on that background and drag my mouse over the exit sign, and I'm just going to keep repeating that until I've covered up all that green. I'm not too worried about this pattern and matching up as much because it's so blurred and distorted. You really can't see a lot of detail. But you can just work it enough so that it kind of blends in with that background, and it's kind of an afterthought and no one really thinks about it. Plus, when I take it into an alien skin filter, a lot of this will get covered up. So it really doesn't matter how precise I am with this. I'm only doing that because I know this is what I'm going to do. I know that using alien skin will cover that up. And you can kind of see it's a little bit of a repeating pattern, but at least you get rid of that green, that blaring green that's so distracting. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of this green cast right here. I'm going to select a little bit of red because that is the opposite of green, and it will tone down a lot of this brightness in this green because I just want it to be a little more subtle. I don't mind it so much, but right now it's just too bright. So I'm going to go into my brush tool, and you can see I've already got a pretty good size, 353. I'm going to select a nice opposite of the screen. I'm going to click on the screen, and then drag it into the red, and you can see that it's this tone of green in this particular area. And I'm going to drag up into the red area, maybe this red area, and select the opposite of that. I think that's a good color. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to create a new layer. So I'm going to go into my layers palette and hit create a new layer. And here I have layer 1. I'm going to label this paint over green, or just call it red, it'd be easier. Alright, now I'm just going to paint over ever so slightly. I'm going to make sure my opacity is set. If I have it at 100, you're going to get that. I don't want that. I want it to be very, very subtle. I just hit Command Z to undo that. I'm going to bring it down to 5 because it just needs to just be a little bit of a paint over on this green. So I'm going to start with the brightest section and just start clicking and painting over. You can start seeing that it starts to tone down that brightness in that green. And if you're worried about it covering up the hand, not a big deal. It's on a separate layer, so we can erase back whatever we overpaint on her. So it's just a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to turn it on and off so you can see just how much of a difference that is. I think we're doing pretty good. It's not going to go completely away. I don't want it to. It's just, again, I'm just trying to tone it down ever so slightly. Okay, so now you can see that I've got some painted area on her. Now I'm going to go with my eraser tool and bring the size down ever so slightly to probably about 159, maybe 150, because I don't want to select too much of an area that we just painted over. I just want to take off what I put on her. And I need the opacity to brought back up to 100 because I want 100% of this paint, red paint, to come off of her. Okay, and I'm just erasing it back. Oops, went over too much. Erasing it back. Again, you got to be a little bit more precise with this. Okay, I think I got all the excess that I put on her. Looks good. Okay. And again, I'm going to turn it on and off so you can see a huge difference right there in the brightness of that green. Okay. Next, you can see that there is some imperfection in her skin. I'm going to zoom in here. A lot of this just comes from the position of the lights we're casting down on her face and causing a little bit more emphasis to the imperfections she had in her skin. Now you can take this into Photoshop Professional or any number of other programs that will run actions for you and create a smoother skin, but it also affects a lot of other things. I think it takes a little bit longer. It takes a little bit of trial and error before you get it right. I like to I like to clone over the face and then blur it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to go back to the background layer that has the image of our subject here. Go into my lasso tool and I'm going to draw around the outside of her face. Okay, and connect that. Good. I'm going to hit copy, Command C. Command V as in Victor to paste, or you can go to Edit to Copy, Edit to Paste, and here we have her face on a new layer. It's just going to put it directly over the background layer. Okay. Now I'm going to label this face blur, and I'm going to go into Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. I already had it set at 7 because I've already edited this image before. But I'll show you that we can bring down the radius of that blur to a lot less or a lot more depending on how much you want to do. But I think 7 is pretty good in between, that we're getting rid of enough of this shadow in the skin so it smooths it out. I'm going to hit OK. Now you can see that we've lost the detail of the eyes and the mouth and the nose. And of course part of the hairline. Now we're going to erase it back. I'm going to click on my eraser tool. And I want to get a smaller brush. Let's bring it down to 50. Okay, and I want my opacity set at 100 because I don't want any blur on the hairline and on the eyes and on the nose and mouth. So I'm just going to start erasing that back. And I don't want it on her eyebrows. And on the nostrils, we need to erase that back. And the mouth. We're just start little by little, and then we're going to fade it in. I want that beauty mark back. Okay, so that's 100% taking that blur out. just in the major areas that need detail. Okay, now we're going to reduce, oh, I still need some more hair right here. Let's take some more of that. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger. Let's go back up to 100. So I need to cover more, or erase more area, larger area here. Okay. And we're just getting into that hairline, a little bit of the neck right here we don't need blurred, and then part of the background and this accessory that she has, this tool. All right, good. And we got about all that we're gonna get there. Okay, good. Now I'm gonna bring down the opacity to 35. And I'm gonna start blending in some of the other areas. I wanna erase it back a little bit, but not a lot. Not as much as 100%. And the details of her nose, the shadows in the nose, a little bit more of this mouth, a little bit more of this cheek area. Doesn't need to be quite as blurred. Bring it down here, and the forehead. Okay, really just painting off. Okay. Almost there. Okay, and then I'm going to bring the size of my brush up to 250. So I'm going to make a large pass over this. And I'm going to bring it down the opacity to 10% of the eraser. And I'm going to make a quick sweeping passes over the face of the blur. Good. So now it looks a little more natural. Let me turn it on and off so you can see the difference. That's a huge difference. And then go zoom back out. You can just see now the skin looks so much smoother. I think it needs a couple more passes just to bring this down just a little bit, just on the upper part of the face here. Okay, good. Now you can see we still have a little bit more imperfection here. I'm going to go back into the background there and zoom in. I'm holding the command and spacebar down and holding the spacebar to bring that little hand tool, or little hand that pops up so I can move my picture down a little bit. I'm going to go into the patch tool. And again, in that background there, I'm just going to select some of this little stronger shadow that just doesn't want to go away with our blurring layer. And I'm going to select over that shadow and then drag the selection to a part of the skin that's more smooth. And you can see that it now disappears. It just blends out. And any other extra little spots, I'm just going to do the same thing. You could have done this beforehand, but I wanted to see if it took it out just with the blur. And I can see that this still looks a little bit too fake. So I'm going to go in with my eraser tool, bring it down to 100 again, and maybe up to 25%. And do a couple of passes. Make sure you click on the face blur layer and just bring down some of that blur so it looks a little bit more realistic. Okay, good. I think we're there. Zoom back out. Good. And again, turn it on and off. You can see a huge difference. So that's a simple way of, or a more controlled way of editing the skin. You can also do the same thing with the arms or legs or anything else that you want to do. Again, you just select the area that you want to smoothen out. There are, again, there's a lot of actions out there that will do the same thing for you, but again, I just like the idea of having a little more control. Now again, you can see in here, I'm going to click on this background layer because I want to edit this out. I've got a stray thread and some bra showing. I'm going to edit that out using my clone tool. So I'm going to click on the clone tool. Again, make sure you're on your background there. I want to make my brush size smaller and about 30-ish, 38, 40-ish, maybe even smaller than that. Let's type in 30. Okay, and I'm going to click on my option key and select some of this pattern and just start blending out that little stray piece of fabric or stray thread and blend it in with this pattern. This part of the pattern is a little more detailed, so it's going to take a little bit more finessing to kind of blend it in, make it part of that pattern. Okay, now we have some skin that we can edit out and cover up. You see right here, I'm going to click on my option key and target this skin color. And if I drag over my mouse, you can see how it'll start masking over that. So again, I'm just going to start painting it over, dragging it across towards the shadow, light to shadow. You can also go dark to light if you want to kind of blend it in a little bit more right there. Okay, now we need to get a little bit finer point because we want to make sure that we match this fabric blur against the skin. So I want to make a finer point. I'm going to bring it down to about 15 and zoom in on the picture. Hold down the Option key to select the skin, and I'm going to start painting over the rest of this bra. Just to where I start seeing the pattern emerge from the fabric. Looking really good. Alright, I think we've almost got it right there. I'm doing this all with the mouse, but if you have a Wacom tablet, I hear that's a lot easier, but I've been using the mouse for 15 years now, and I can't imagine switching now. It'd take me a little bit of a learning curve to get back into the groove, but a lot of people say I'll probably have some wrist issues in the future, but so far I'm doing good. Okay, and I'm using my the patch tool because I started seeing a little bit of like a repeating patterns here. You can just see it a little bit right here. What I want to do is select with the patch tool some of this area just above the fabric, and I'm going to click and drag it over to some matching skin tone right there so that I can blend in or blend out that duplicating effect from the brush, from the cloning brush. All right. Okay, good. That's a little bit smoother. I'm going to zoom out. It looks a little weird. All right, let's try that again. Okay. Zoom. Here we go. Good. Okay, and we can always select this again, like we did with the skin on the face. Okay, I'm going to click Command C, Command V, and I'm going to blur that a little bit. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I don't need it all the way up to 7. I need it to be a lot smaller than that. Just need it to be slight. So I'm going to put it up to 1, hit OK, and erase back the parts that are covering up the dress. So in my eraser tool, get a smaller radius of the brush and just start erasing back at 100% opacity and erasing back what covered up or what blurred the dress in that layer. Good. Okay, zoom back out. Looks a lot better. So now that we've gotten all those edits, oh, I see a little bit more imperfection in this dress. Again, I'm going to get my clone tool, select the background where, I'm sorry, I need to click the background layer. Select the pattern or the background of the wall and just start painting over. Okay. Again, there's so much blur with this particular background that I'm not too concerned whether or not it's matching because it's really hard to tell. But I'm trying to get as close as possible. All right, good. And I don't see anything else that needs to be edited. I think everything else is looking really good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flatten this layer. But if you think that you want to come back to this and edit out a little bit more, maybe you think that the blur is a little too heavy and you want to bring it down a little bit. In fact, actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring this layer of the face blur down to 80. Yeah, I like that much better. And I go back into the background layer. I can see one little spot that needs a little attention. I'm going to get the patch tool, go over that right there, bring it up to a smooth part of the skin, and good. Okay, that looks a lot better. Okay, now say you wanted to go back and do that again. I'm going to save a Photoshop file. I'm going to go to File to Save As, and put it into a folder on your desktop or your hard drive that you want to save it in. Make sure you click the format as Photoshop. This is not my flattened version, this is my edited version. Okay, and I'm going to hit save. I already had a previous one in there. I'm just going to replace it. Okay, now I have a preserved, edited version with my Photoshop layers. Now I'm going to go ahead and layer, flatten image, and do a save as. And I'm going to label this one flattened, underscore flattened, or flat. F-L-A-T-T-E-N. Terrible speller. And this I want to be a JPEG. And I had one in there again. I'm going to replace it. and hit OK. All right, now I want to bring this into Alien Skin because I want to add a little bit more of an aged effect to this. I'm still on a free trial. I have about 5 days left. I'm just testing it out and I haven't bought it yet. If you want to buy it, I think it's $199 on alienskin.com. So I'm going to go into Filter, Alien Skin Exposure 4, and that's where Alien Skin will be saved on your Photoshop. I'm going to continue with my trial. And the last time I used this is already set to this effect. Where it is under Vintage Films, and I clicked on Wet Plate. Wet Plate, I think it was distorted. I think. I can click Vintage. Scroll down. Yeah, Vintage to Wet Plate to. So you can see the little preview showing up here. Yeah, it was Vintage to damaged green peach, but then it's just showing up. But if you can click on, see you clicked on that and it shows up as black and white, you can always switch it to color. I don't want to play with it because I like the settings and the last time I used it. So right now, the only thing I need to do is adjust the color. So I'm going to go into the preset and adjust it a little bit more and see what it looks like with different exposures on it. You can boost the midtones, leave faded skin, I like that one. Faded highlights. Fade your midtones, that looks pretty good. Fade the shadows, that's too blue. That's for outdoors. Again, there's just different options to kind of give it a little bit more of an effect. And color casting. I think it's too blue. Faded skin, I like that one. I'm going to click on that. Good. And do I want to adjust the warmness? Maybe a little bit. Let's see what it looks like if it's cooler. Ooh, I like that. That looks pretty good. Okay. And I think I want to bring down the aged effect just a little bit. Bring the opacity down a tad. Maybe down to 60. Okay. I'm going to click OK. And it's going to run this action. And it's going to save a version of my original, this layer, and then the Alien Skin layer. So you can see it right here. There's 2 layers. My Alien Skin version and my original. You can see the huge difference. Okay. Now I'm going to hit Layer, Flatten, Save As, and I'm going to call this Alien Skin. Well, actually I'll do Vintage. I think I like that name better. And hit Save. Click OK. And now I'm going to open up the original one and put a side-by-side comparison so you can see how much of a difference it is from the original. Okay, and I'm going to go into my original file. There it is. Okay. Okay, here we are. Side-by-side comparison of where we started and where we ended up. Okay, huge difference. I mean, this is out of camera, and this is with edit. I think it just gives that what I had envisioned that image looking when I shot it. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. I'm going to go ahead and close both these files because we don't need them anymore. Okay, I'm going to show you next how to take 2 images and combine them into one. I love the position that Kaylee's is in here, but I don't like her eyes. They're in her face. They look a little bit blurred. So what I want to do is take swap heads from another picture. So I opened up this picture of Kaylee. I liked that she's still in the same position because I changed the orientation of my camera and I took a horizontal shot. And she changed up her expression. She has a little bit more of a smile, and her eyes are a lot sharper. So what I want to do is swap her head on here and put it onto this picture. So what I want to do is click on my lasso tool, and I'm going to select everything, the hair, the arm, everything in the background of this picture, copy, and paste it onto this image. And there might be a slight variation in size. You can see this head is slightly bigger. So what I want to do is go into the background there and get the rulers. If you don't have them open, it's Command R to open up those rulers to get the guides. I'm going to set a guide right at the tip of her forehead and a guide at the bottom of her chin. And then I'm going to get the new layer and bring down the opacity to 50-ish so that I can see it above the background layer. And I'm going to move this image. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Holding down my Command and spacebar. And position this image almost exactly where I have the guide set. So the top of her forehead is going to be on this guide. And then I'm going to click Edit, Transform to Scale. And I need to zoom out a little bit so I can see it. I want to scale this image down of the new head to the same height and width of the previous image below it. Just kind of move it over until I match it as close as possible. And again, her position of her head and her expressions change, so it's not going to be an exact match, and it doesn't need to be. But at least it needs to have the same height and width. So I want to match up the length of the chin and the forehead. Good. I'm going to hit OK. All right, now I'm going to bring the opacity back of that layer. And now I'm going to delete my guides because I don't want them there anymore. Clear guides. And now I want to edit out everything else because I just want to preserve the new face. So I'm going to go into the eraser tool and get a larger brush, much larger, much larger. And set it at 100% opacity and start erasing back on the new layer. So I'm going to actually label this again. Call this duplicate head. Okay, and I'm just going to start erasing back everything that I don't need. Because all I'm replacing is her face. You can also use a layer mask to do this in case you edited and you erased too much back and instead of having to go to Command Z and start all over again. You can do that as well. And there, instead of using an eraser tool, you would use your paintbrush. And I'll show you how to do that again really quickly. But I'll just show you right now. Look how easily it is to just blend in that face from the old one. And erase back some of her arm here. Now I need to get a smaller brush. Not that small. And so I can get a little bit more detailed here. Okay, and we're just erasing back ever so slightly. Looking pretty good. I want to keep that hand. Good, blending in very well. Okay, let's turn this layer off so you can see. Just delete all of the extra stuff we don't need. Larger brush. You can always select, it'd be a lot easier to do this. Select it and delete it. It's a lot quicker. Oops, sorry, my mouse is going crazy again. See a little bit finer selection here. Okay, turn that layer back on, and again, erase back some more. Okay, we can turn it on and off. You can see what we missed. I think we need to adjust the orientation of her face a little bit. I'm just going to rotate a little. There we go. Now we're looking a little more normal. Our face isn't quite as distorted. And again, I'm just going to bring it down so I can kind of line it up, bring down the opacity of that layer, and line up her features. Right there. There you go. Okay, turn it back up to 100. That's much better. Okay. So that is a quick way to swap a head, swap a face for a different one. Now, so that's one way. You can do the erasing back tool. Another one is to use the masking tool. So I'm going to delete this again. Start over. I'm going to put back my guides. Oops. To the top of the head. in the chin, bottom of the chin. I'm going to get Kaylee's face, copy, Command C, and Command V to paste. Move her head up here, and drop the opacity down again. Edit, or transform to scale, and bring her chin in. Moving the face over to line up with the eyes. Line it up with the chin. Good. A little bit more. Good. Okay. 100%. I'm going to rotate that in. Edit. Transform. Rotate. And I think I want to bring it back down to 50 just so that I can see what I'm doing below that other layer. And rotating it so that it fits almost right over the face. Now I need to scale it. It's a lot of playing with this just to make sure you have it positioned just right. Good. I think we're there. Perfect. Right, return. It's not going to be exact because, again, we're taking 2 pictures off at once, but try to get as close as possible. Oops, 100%. Okay, now we have the new layer on there. And I'm going to clear the guides. View, clear guides. All right, now I'm going to put a layer mask over this. So I'm going to click on this little icon at the bottom of my layer. I'm going to bring this up a little bit so you can see this. And it's going to select this layer, layer 1. I'm going to actually label this face duplicate or double. Face double, okay. And I'm going to click on the layer mask and you'll see a little thumbnail appear over that's white. Now what you're going to be doing is kind of like a erasing tool, but it's still there. We're just going to mask it over and hide it and make it transparent, everything that we're editing out. But we have to use our paintbrush tool to do that. So I click on the paintbrush tool. I have a large radius of the brush, but I want to make it a little bit bigger. Maybe a little bit less. Let's bring it down to 800. Maybe 600. It's a good size. All right. Now if I want to paint with the black, it's going to paint on. The white will paint off. I'm going to set it down to 100. Oops, opposite. Okay, now so the black paints off, and you can see that it's kind of like erasing it. It's the same concept, but if I brought it, I can always bring it back. So if you're erasing it, it's completely gone. It's deleted. Now I'm using the paintbrush to paint it out, and I'm going to switch it to white, and I'm going to paint it back in. See, it's still there. So if you make a mistake, you can go back and correct it, rather than using the eraser tool. I use the eraser tool only because I've been doing this a long time, but sometimes I'll go and back and use the layer mask because I think that it's going to be a little bit more difficult and I'm going to need to be going back and forth with it. It really just depends on, again, what you're comfortable with doing. So I'm just going to edit out everything but the face. Okay, and I'm going to have to go into a smaller brush because I'm getting a little bit more detailed. Okay. And again, if I go over, I can always bring it back. Just kind of blend it in here. It's looking good. Again, you can turn it on and off so you can see what you still need to blend out. This you don't want to use your lasso tool and delete because that defeats the purpose of using the layer mask. The layer mask lets us paint back in. If you use your lasso tool and hit delete, it means it's gone. You can see I can paint it back in again. Any little detail that I went a little too over on. And I want to line it up, put in a little bit more of that hairline so it kind of blends in. Because I don't want any face distortions there. Okay. And I bring back the face. I'm going to turn it on and off so you can see the difference here. And you can see that we maybe need to edit out a little bit more of this hair. I'm going to go back into the black and erase this back. And I think I'm going to lower the opacity because I want it to be subtle. And turn the layer back on. On and off again just to see if I missed anything. And again, just blending. Go back up to 100. I think I'm just going to use I like the shape of her face. I just want to replace the smile and the eyes. So I'm just going to bring it all back in. I like the hairline on that one better. Okay. All right, we're good. All right, now that we're done with that, we've swapped our head. Again, if you want to keep this file because you want to go back and fix it, keep a Photoshop file. So this is where we do a save as. And I'm going to call this Kaylee Edit. Keep it as a Photoshop file so you still have your layers, and hit save. Okay, now I'm noticing that I have a little bit of this stool showing. I don't want it there because I find it distracting. So I'm going to clone that out. Again, I hold my Command and spacebar down to zoom in, and use my spacebar to move the image up around with the little hand tool exactly where I want it to be positioned so that I can edit. I'm going to go into my background layer, and I click on the clone tool, and I need a larger brush. Good. And this is going to be a lot easier because there's no pattern in this background. It's solid. So I'm going to target this background color and clone it over, holding down the Option key, and then releasing it, and use my mouse to paint over it. As I get closer to the edge, I need to clone a little bit different space. Now I need a smaller brush because I need to get a little closer to the color in the pants, and I don't want to be over blurred. And make it a little bit bigger. Because again, I want to keep it realistic and keep that sharpness or slight blurring to make it look as if the stool was never there. Well, there but not showing there. It's not like we don't want her floating, but we do want to make it appear as if she's sitting on something that we just can't see. Okay. Again, it's just a little finessing, a little bit of back and forth, and you have to be a little bit more precise here because we don't want to blend in or blend out too much. Just want to keep it slightly shadowed there because it will be naturally, if it weren't there would be a little bit more shadow. So blend over just a little bit more. Make another pass. Be very, very careful. Again, if you have a Wacom tablet and you're used to using that, go right ahead. Again, I'm doing this with the mouse. I have to try to be a little bit more careful here. All right, zoom back out and see. Looks pretty good. I think we need to maybe take another pass at that. It's still too much of a black line there. And I'm going to lower my opacity down to 30-ish. Okay. And I'm going to clone over that, just to lighten up that line because it still looks a little too harsh. I'm not completely covering it as if I was at 100% opacity. Right now it's just going just over it to give it a little less of a dark color. There we go. Maybe even a little bit more. It's really just a trial and error. Just keep going back. I don't want to do it too much at one time because I may have to hit Command Z or go to my history palette and fix that and go back again and start over, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just doing a little bit at a time until I get it just right. Okay, looking good. All right, now I want to crop it because I don't want so much space above her head. I'm going to go into the crop tool and bring in that corner a bit. Looks good. Maybe a little bit on this side. Still need some of the some space above her head so when we go to frame it, it's not cutting her off. Okay, good. And maybe bring it in on the bottom a little. I don't need so much of that. Okay, good. Now I'm going to show you how to edit not outside of Photoshop and do it in a program called Portrait Professional. Rather than taking it and blurring the image or blurring the skin and trying to fix it that way, I actually want to paint a little bit more makeup on her face. And one way to do that would be use Portrait Professional because it will emphasize some more of these lines. So I'm going to hit Save As. I'm going to let's do a save for Photoshop, Edit, Layer to Flatten, and save as a JPEG. Save As. JPEG. I'm going to call this Flatten. And hit save. Okay, now I'm going to open up Portrait Professional. Okay, and I'm going to select Open Image. Let's bring this in, you can't see this. Oops, cancel. Bring this program in so you can see it. There we go. Now I'm going to go to Open Image and find the image of Kaylee that I saved on my desktop. And I'm going to find Kaylee flattened. Okay, I'm going to hit Open. Good. It just takes a minute. There we go. I'm going to click on Female. And it's going to ask you to set these little cross marks in different parts of the face. So I'm going to put first one on the left corner of the eye, the next one on the right corner, and then I can go in and make this a little bit more precise. Right on the corner of the eye, the tip of the nose, and the corners of the mouth. Okay, now it's going to ask you to adjust the outlines. So you can click on these little points and bring them in and just outline the white part of the eye just before we get to the eyelashes and skin, and the color and iris of the eye. Bring that down a little bit, holding down my Shift key to preserve the circle, not distort it, and bring the points in for the eyebrows. Bring it in a little bit more, and hit my space bar to go to the next eye, and again adjust the points. And make the iris a little smaller so it fits just over that. Good. And again with the eyebrow, bring the points down and around it. And hit the space bar, and we're going to go to open mouth rather than closed mouth because we do see some teeth there. And dragging the points so we outline the lip areas. And make sure our points are right on the corner of the mouth. Good. And then the nose. I want to go just outside the nostril and just below the bottom of the nose. Make sure we're right at the tip, and then hit spacebar. Now we're going to adjust the space around the face. Point at the bottom of the chin, point on the side of the cheeks, and the lines of the jaw, or sorry, the cheekbone, and the forehead. Bring it down, and points on the edges of the hairline. Good. So now we have all the points set, and I'm going to hit spacebar, and it will run the action. And right now it's going to be selecting all the areas of the face and the eyes, the mouth, and it's going to put in its already adjusted settings to smoothen out skin imperfections, bring in the brightness of the eyes, adjust the color of the lip to make it darker or lighter, and then just add more emphasis. So you can see a huge difference already. The eyes look a little more sharper and a little whiter. There's a little more color to the lips. We can also do a little bit more touching up. If you click on the touch-up brush above, you can adjust the size of the brush. Right now it's really, really big, and I don't need it to be that big, so I want to adjust the lip. And the strength of it, I want to bring it down just to halfway, because I just see some discoloration in the lip right here. I'm just going to make a quick little pass over it. And it adjusts it for you. Good, and then there's a little distortion here in the lip color and the line. So it's blending the skin in over it. Okay, and maybe there's a little bit more lines in here I want to get rid of, and some skin imperfections, so I'm touching those up a little bit more. Good. Maybe a larger brush because I want it to blend and bring down the strength of it. I just want to make a pass over the bottom part of the eye and the forehead. And bring down this right here. Make a smaller brush. Good. And ever so slightly over this. Really good. Okay, now you can always go in and adjust. Maybe the eyes are a little too bright for you. I think they're just a little too white and they kind of look a little fake. So I'm going to click on eye control. Oh, collapse, it's going to take me a minute. And I'm going to click on eye controls, drop it down. And I'm going to bring down the master fade a little bit, just so that you can see what it looks like before. And if you add a lot of it, it just really brightens those eyes a lot. I'm going to bring down the whites. I really like that the eyes are a lot brighter, but the white looks so fake to me, so I'm going to bring that down. Brightness just a little bit. Okay. The eyes are pretty sharp. I like that. Iris, you can see it's just making it really, really bright. Right there. The pupil, it can make it darker or lighter. And bring down the fade ever so slightly. Good. Okay, so now it looks a little more natural, just enhanced. Okay, and I'm going to go into the lip color. I want to make this a little darker. Where is this? Mouth. Mouth and nose. And master fade again. Just makes it a little darker. Lip saturation. Can bring it down a little bit more, enhance it. Darken the lip. Looks good. And again, I'm going to go into the touch-up brush because there's this slight imperfection there that's trying to kind of buggy me. Bring down the size of my brush a little bit. Right there. And just make a slight pass over it. Good. Okay. So now it's doing pretty well. I'm going to zoom out so you can see. I don't have a side-by-side comparison yet. So you can see a little bit more. And here it actually lets you adjust the rest of the skin, not just the face. So if you see any imperfections in her arms, you can adjust those as well. Just go into the touch-up brush and I can take out little bits of things. Depending on the size of the brush, you can just really do a huge pass over it and it'll smoothen out that skin. Okay, it's just slight. All right, and I'm gonna go back into her face. And you can adjust the color of her hair too. And I'm gonna go into the hair controls and edit the area of the hair. You can see we're missing some right here. And zoom out a little bit. Good. Okay. And I'm going to select more hair by coloring in purple. Okay. Get all those little pieces in. Good. It's okay if you go over it in the background. It's not that big a deal. It's just going to select the hair. Okay. Now we have all that hair selected. Then we can cut back and make the size of that brush a little smaller so you can take out the background that we don't need. And I'm going to have to go and edit those flyaways in Photoshop. But I wanted to do the edit in here first before we do that, because sometimes you can edit out some of it in here in Portrait Professional and you don't have to go back in Photoshop and do it. Okay. So now I've got that selected. I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to adjust the shine. You can make it shinier. It doesn't really look good. Let's go back into the edit area. Cut back all this extra stuff that we got on the shirt. Okay, good. Go back to OK. And we can add a little bit more vibrance to the hair. And maybe darken or lighten it. And add a little more red if you wanted. We can also tidy it up. I don't need it to change any of her color. I kind of like it this way. Oops, sorry. Go back in the hair controls. We're going to go into hair tidying mode. And it just takes a minute there for it to run. It's trying to select all that hair. There's a lot of detail in that. All right, there we are. Okay, so now we want to add maybe a little bit more shadow to it, or take away some of the shadow. You can smoothen it. Maybe she's got a little bit of kind of a coarse hair, and smooth it out a little bit to make it a little bit more softer. Okay, I think I like it. I'm gonna click OK. It takes a few minutes for it to run that action. Good. Now let's see if I can touch up some of these flyaways. Make my brush a little smaller and maybe the strength a little bit more. I'm going to go over some of that flyaway. Yeah, it's taking out some of that flyaway right there for you. Not as much control as you would have in Photoshop, but if there aren't a lot and you just want to do a quick pass in here, you can do that. I think sometimes it distorts the background too much, and I'd actually like to do this in Photoshop. But there you go, there's an option. Okay, so now we're going to hit next so we don't have any other things we want to edit. Hit next, I'm going to do a save as. And it automatically saved it as Flatten PP, that's just an abbreviation for Portrait Professional, so I'm going to hit save. Okay, it's going to take a minute for that to save that file. Okay, almost there. And then I'll do a side-by-side comparison so you can see the difference from in Photoshop before we did the Portrait Professional edit. So it's going to run that and close this program for you. Again, it's taking a minute. I see my little wheel spinning there. Okay, good. All right, let's go ahead and quit this program and go back into Photoshop. Okay, and here it is before we did Portrait Professional. I'm going to open up the new one and go to the PP. Here we go, Kaylee Portrait Professional. Good, and side by side. And you can see a huge difference in her skin tone right there, and the smoothness of her hair, brightness of her eyes, and you get a bit of, got rid of a little bit of just the imperfections of the skin. I think that looks pretty good. And I'm going to go back in here and now edit out the flyaways. So I'm going to click off of Kaylee's other two pictures. I'm going to get rid of those. I don't need them open anymore. Okay, now I'm going to go in and use my clone tool, zoom in on the flyaways. And I need a larger brush. Okay, so again, we're going to click on the background layer because we're going to select that and just start painting over these flyaways. I'm going to make that 100%. Okay, and maybe a smaller brush. Not that small. Okay, and just get a little bit more of that detail out of the flyaway. So just passing over it. Okay. A lot of this is just like going through, and you can prevent some of these flyaways by just having your hairdresser smooth out the hair a little bit more, or your MUA, just to catch those beforehand so you have minimal editing for hair, because hair can be very tricky. It's just one of those things that you have to try to catch in camera, and if you don't, you know, this is one way to do it. I've had some that are like really, there's just a lot of flyaways, you can't do anything with it. So I'm coming in constantly in almost every picture and doing this. But to save yourself some time in the editing room, do what you can to eliminate it in camera. So very quickly, just passing over and seeing some background distortion there. So I'm going to go and cover that up. Again, I'm just going to clone some of that background. You can even use your patch tool if it's really bothering you and do a quick patch over. Okay, you're doing pretty good. I gotta see another one, selecting that, dragging it to get to blending it in there. Looking good. Okay, I like it. And there we go. That's how to do editing using a combination of Photoshop and Portrait Professional. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and save this again. Hit save, hit OK. Good. And if you wanted to, at this point, you could actually take it into Lightroom and add in a preset on there. Or if you have Photoshop actions, you can add that, some different kind of looks to the image. Or if you want to preserve it and keep it more of a natural out-of-camera look, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and close this because we don't need it open anymore. Okay, now we're going to go into Gloria. Move on to Gloria's picture. And for her, I want to take out some of this flyaway, a little bit of the distortion in the hair right here, some distortion in her dress, and I want to bring in her sides and pop out her hip a little bit more, because this was something that was a little harder for her. Some people don't have a lot of hip as much of a hip so that even if they're sticking out as far as they can, it's still not popping out enough. And you want to emphasize that. Easy to do that in Photoshop. Let's start off with the flyaways. We're going to go back in our cloning tool and hit the Option key to select the background and just start cloning out the flyaways. Start off with the little ones first, and we can reduce the size of our brush to get a little bit more detail. We get closer to the bulk of the hair. Okay. Good. And let's see, a little bit more. I think I need to zoom in here. Yeah, and reduce the size of my brush now because I need to get to a little bit finer pieces that are just bugging me. And it's a lot of just going back in and selecting some more backgrounds. You're going to be doing this, clicking a lot, option click, just to get all these little fine pieces out. Okay, I need to get a really fine brush point here so it doesn't look so fake. Okay, and get a little more of that detail there. Rid of this one. Larger brush again. So check this one takes a little bit more loving care. It's gonna take a little bit more time to edit that. Okay, and then I want to get rid of this like dome, this little piece of hair that didn't quite work very well. So I'm going to use my lasso tool and select maybe the top part of her head right there. Oops. Oops, shift key. Okay. And a little bit more of this background. Good. Okay, now I'm going to hit Command-C, Command-V, and I'm going to use my warp tool, edit, transform to warp, and just bring this down just a bit. It's a matter of playing with it to kind of flatten that out. Oops, it's too much. Okay, it isn't quite working. Let's delete that layer and try it over again. Maybe we need a little less of the forehead, and just want to get the top of that, and a lot more of the background. Okay, so copy, Command-C, Command-V to paste, edit, transform to warp, and bring that down. Okay, and if that still doesn't work enough, you can go into the cloning tool and start cloning it out just a little bit. At first, do a big brush just to get the bulk of what we're going to edit out. Good. And then get a finer point on the brush to blend it. And a little bit more of a finer point. And we're just shaving off a little bit of that more of the hair. There we go. Good. Get a little bit more natural. Oops. Okay. Now we have to flatten that. So zoom out, make sure that there isn't anything odd about it. Click it on and off. Ooh, you see a big difference right there. Okay, so now it looks a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and flatten that because I don't need it anymore. I'm going to go to Layer to Flatten Image. Okay, and let's start with next with cropping it. I'm going to take out some of that arm right there. It's bugging me. You know what? I think we can kind of warp that one. Let's go back in. Don't crop it. Okay. Let's start off with editing out a little bit more of this dress. Again, I'm going to go into my cloning tool, open up my size of my brush a little bit more, select the background, and start painting over the little imperfection here. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Zoom out so I can see it. Good. So now I want to pop her hip out a little bit more. So I'm going to select maybe all this right here. Okay, and I'm going to hit Copy, Command-C, Command-V to paste. go into my warp tool, and I'm just going to pop her hip out. Ooh, there you go, pop it out a little bit more. And bring this corner in a little bit. Looks good. And then I want to bring her arm in a little bit. Okay. Good. And she's looking a little bit more popped. Good. And hit return. And I want to bring this side in a little bit. Go back into the background there. And I'm going to select this side of her. Maybe not the face. Option that out. And copy and paste. Edit, Command C. I'm sorry, edit to copy, edit to paste, or Command C, Command V. Go to edit to warp. Transform to warp. And I'm going to bring in this a little bit. So she's a little bit more of a waist. And a little bit less of an arm. Yeah. That I might have to crop out. And hit return. Okay, now we got a little bit of this showing. That's an easy fix. We need to go into our cloning tool, get a larger brush, and just brush in some background over that. So keeping it on our layer that has this side selected. Sorry, those are my dogs. I'm getting a little restless. Just going to brush in some more background there just to cover that up. Looking good. Okay. And I need to erase out some of this background here. That's that's on layer 1. Just so it blends it in. There we go. Now it's gone. Okay. Now let's see. I think now I'm going to go to crop. Let me just show you really quick. I'm going to combine these two layers. Ooh, I can see some distortion right there. Let's erase that one. I think that's on layer 2. I'm going to blend that out. I want to keep the preservation of this part of her body there. All I really wanted to do is just edit out the hip and this and the waistline. Okay. All right, and then select on and off. And then combine these two layers now. So I can select on and off. Huge difference right there. A little bit more pop, a little bit more of a waistline. I think she will really like that. And we're going to erase some of this stuff that we don't need. Good. Just going to keep that the same. Oops, let me go back. History. And I went back too far, so I'm going to go back into my history. I did that, and I only want to erase a little bit. I think it looks pretty good. I think it's looking, it doesn't look like I've forgotten anything. Looks pretty natural. Okay. Oh, maybe just a little bit right here of the belt. A lot of beads there, it kind of blends. Okay. Erase that a little bit. Good. All right. And maybe a little bit more of the belt. I'm going to bring down the opacity just slightly. And the size of my brush. Okay, it's kind of fading him in there. Okay, good enough. On and off, on and off. Okay, good. Go back up to 100%. Okay. Huge difference right there. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and crop it. And I'm going to bring down ever so slightly. I think I want to crop up just a little bit of that arm. You know what? Good. Down a little bit more. Let's bring that arm in. It's just bugging me right here. I'm going to go into that layer, copy, and I'm just going to warp this part of her arm. It just looks odd to me. And de-emphasize it a little bit more. So copy, paste, edit, transform to warp. And I'm bringing it in a little bit. There we go. That's much better. Didn't need a whole lot, just a little bit. Just de-emphasize that and match the width of the other arm. Looks good. And I probably need to go in and just erase, or actually let's clone it. A little bit of that background over there. Good. Okay, now I want to go in and crop it a little bit more. Good. Perfect. Okay, and there we go. So if you want to preserve those Photoshop layers so that you can go in and edit or add to a little bit more, we can do that. I'm going to go in Command Shift S and call this Edit. And make sure I have File Format Photoshop selected and hit OK. Good. And I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to look for any more imperfections, some more flyaways really quickly, and then we're going to bring it into Photoshop Professional. I'm sorry, Portrait Professional to do our final edits. Good. Okay, looking good. Hit save, and then I want to save a flattened layer. Oops, still saving. Okay, layer, flatten image, Command Shift S, and I'm going to call this flat. Oops. Flat. And I want to save this as a JPEG. Hit save. And hit OK. Good. Now we're going to Portrait Professional. She's got a little bit more imperfections in her skin, which I think Portrait Professional will really add. And it will bring out her eyes and kind of lighten them. And again, we'll add a little bit more to the makeup. So open up the image. And look for a file on my desktop. Gloria Flat, hit open. Good. And again, select female, and we're going to click the points of the eyes and get a little more accurate. The point of the nose or tip of the nose and corners of the mouth. And again, we're going to adjust the points around the eye. And make the iris a little bit smaller because it's just right there. Okay, and now the eyebrows. If you notice her eyebrows might be a little sparse in some areas, we can go into Photoshop and add to it if we want to. But these are the way that I'm sure she likes them. And I'm going to hit the space bar and then I select the rest of her eyebrows. Good, and her eye. And the more you use this program again, this will get a lot faster. You can start seeing all the different points and a little quicker and change, get through this process a little faster. And then just select the area of the mouth, and just get a little bit wider. A little bit more down on this side. Okay, good. And the point of the nose. Okay. Good. And now we're going to go to the points of the chin and the cheeks. And bring the line in the cheeks, the cheekbones. And make sure we're on the forehead and the corners of the hairline. Good. Now hit spacebar to run the action. And again, just takes a couple minutes. And then after we do this, I'm going to show you how to extend the background of this in case you wanted to use it as a horizontal image, like for your website or for your marketing materials. So while this is running, okay, good. Now I noticed I lost a little bit of that shadow in the nose. So I'm going to go into the nose controls. Face, skin, eyes, nose, and mouth. Here you go. And I want to darken in the contrast of the nose. Let's see, a little bit more. There we go. Now you see a little bit more of a difference between the top lip and the nose. That's good. Maybe a little bit more. Good. And her eyes are still looking a little bit, they're not quite as bright as I'd want them to be. So I'm going to go into eye control, and I'm going to brighten the eyes, whiten them a little bit more, and brighten them a little bit more, and bring out that beautiful brown color of her eye. Make them just a slightly bit sharper. Same with the eyebrows. Brighten the iris and the pupil. And darken it a little bit. Okay, good. So I've brightened her eyes a little bit. Everything else looks pretty good. I think I need to touch up a little bit more of the skin. So I'm going to go into the touch-up brush and just pass over these little bits of areas right here. I think that's looking really pretty. I'll go in the direction of her hair. Oh, I think I might have gone a little too much. Just go to restore that. Just around the hairline. Looks good. And I see a little stray hair on her face. We can touch that up really easily. Look at that. It's like magic. That's pretty cool. Saves you some time in Photoshop, not having to do it there. And I see a little one on her eye. Zoom in a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. There we go. And I just want to pass over this little bit of hair that's on her eye. Looks good. Bring down the strength a little bit. And smoothen out the line of the eyeshadow there. And then make the brush eye just ever so slightly bigger. There we go. And smoothing just a little bit, so it's not such a harsh line. And pass on the eyes a little bit, just fade that a little bit. That looks good. Maybe a little bit here on their chin. I see some imperfections. And I think that looks really good. Let's zoom back out. Oh, this program's running really slow today. Okay, good. I like where everything else is. It looks fine. There aren't really any imperfections in her arms that I'm worried about at all. I'm going to hit next to save as. And let's see, where is our Gloria? Gloria, Flatten, PP, there she is. Oh, that's Kaylee, sorry. Gloria, flat, and then add in underscore PP for Portrait Professional, and then hit save. Okay, and we're going to wait till this program is done running the action, and then we're going to extend the background of Photoshop. So I'm going to quit out of Portrait Professional and do a quick side-by-side comparison so you can see the difference between Gloria before and Gloria after. Oops. And quick side-by-side. Whoops. Put that back in there. Didn't mean to do that. So quick side-by-side. You can see just a huge difference right there. Just in the skin tone, overall appearance. Her eyes are a lot brighter, her lipstick's a little darker, and I think that looks really good. Okay, so I'm going to close out this unflattened layer and then go into the Portrait Professional version, and I want to make this background a little whiter because I want to maybe use this on my website cover or my website preview, and also on my marketing materials. Some of my marketing materials are a little more horizontal, like a 5x7 postcard or a gift voucher. So what I want to do is copy this layer, drag it down to the create new layer, delete the background because that's the flattened file. So now I can extend this. I want to go to open image to canvas size. And right now the width is set at 14. I want to maybe double that or triple that. So I'm going to go from, see, the height is at 21, so let's go to 36. And let's see, that's a lot wider right there. You have a lot of room here to put background on the side, on the left and on the right, so you can use this image for anything. I want to kind of off-center her. I don't want her right in the middle. so that I can use this for any sort of marketing materials or website. So what I want to do is select the background and extend it. And one way to do that is by using your lasso tool and just selecting around the area of the background, and we're going to copy and paste it. So hit Command C and Command V to paste. And then I want to go to Edit, Transform to Scale, and I'm just going to stretch it out. Okay, stretch it out about as much as I can. I can always erase back. So I'm going to erase over the part that's covering Gloria, because we don't need it. Make sure it's at 100%. And I want the solid eraser, so I can get this done a little faster. Okay, so I am erasing the part that's over Gloria. Okay, and I'm just going to erase that because I don't need it there. And then I want to clone in the rest of it. Or actually, I can do this too. I'm going to select the next bottom part right here. Good. About that much. Edit to copy and paste. Edit, Command C, Command V. And we're going to do the same thing again. Edit, transform to scale. And I'm just going to bring in this over here. Good. And again, just going to edit out the part that's covering Gloria. Just erase that back. Looks good. And I can see that we're losing a little bit of that background. I'm going to combine those two layers because it's extended our background. Hit Command E, Shift click on both those layers. Hold down your Shift key, click those layers, Command E to combine them. And again, I'm going to transform to scale because I can see a little bit of that background. I don't want it there. That looks good. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to zoom in. There's a little distortion in that background and it doesn't quite match. It's like a little stretched out right here. That's an easy fix. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and right out to the radius of 1. I'm just going to keep dragging it down until I see that it's nice and smooth. And I think that looks really good. I'm going to hit OK. So now you see that once we did that, it's kind of erased a little bit back some of that background. This is easy to fix again. Go to your cloning tool, open up the brush size a little bit more, and just hit a little bit at this edge of the background and paint it in. Just drag it over. Getting kind of close to her hairline, we don't want to go over it. We don't want to clone her hair over that. Looks good. And we have a little sliver right here. Again, it's just a matter of, well, let's do the patch tool. And select that bald area and just bring it over and select the rest of that background to blend it in. That didn't quite work very well. Command D. Let's go to the history palette and go back to the 4, that action. Command D to deselect the selection. And I'm going to go and zoom in and just clone over this little bit. Just maybe a couple passes until it blends in there. Good. Okay. Now we have that part of the background. We can see if we can take this side and clone it over here rather than having to cut it out and stretch it out again, because we've got a lot of background right here. I see it's a little bit covered up right here. Let's get the eraser tool and take off what's covering Gloria there. Okay, good. And I'm going to duplicate this layer, drag it down to create new layer, and then I'm going to flip it. Edit, transform, flip horizontal. Okay, now we just copy that layer over this one. You can see there's a slight discoloration. The tones are a little darker here. We can always edit that. Let's go to Image, Adjust, Brightness and Contrast. Okay, I'm going to bring the brightness up just a little less contrast. Oh, that's not quite it. A little bit more. Good. And then let's go to Adjust. Let's see. Select Command Shift the whole layer. Actually, Command D. I'm going to select a little bit of this right here, and I'm going to drag or copy some of this, select some of this color, and I'm going to bring in a transparent gradient over it. All right. Oops. I've already selected the color, and I'm going to hold down my Shift key and just drag it up. Drag it up a little bit more so it blends in. Maybe a little bit more. And a little bit more. There we go. Handy. So now, again, it's just covering up a little bit of Gloria. It's not a big deal. Let's just drag this over until we see the spot that we need. Good. And again, we're going to erase over it. Just everything that's covering up Gloria. This is really just a playing with it. It just takes some time to get the color just right. Okay, maybe add in a little bit of blue. If this isn't working out, we can always do the same thing we just did with the previous way we did this. Again, just use your lasso tool and select some of that background. Copy and paste, go into the background there, copy and paste, and stretch it out. Oops, nope, scale. Okay, and we're just going to stretch out that background. There we go. And we're missing a little bit here, so this is where we're going to have to clone it a little bit more. We're going to bring in that layer over it, kind of fill it in. And edit, free transform, scale. It's a little complicated, but you take some time to just kind of blend in everything, blending in the colors, just kind of painting it back in. I'm going to erase back some of this. Things that are covering up Gloria. Smooth it in, try to blend it into this other background. And erase back this one. Okay, so now we're going to have to go in and do some major cloning here, just to get some more of that background. Get a larger brush, and I'm going to put those two layers together because they're going to become one anyways. Go to Option and start blending in that background. And get a little bit from the bottom, blending it in. Oops. Option. Don't worry about going over your subject because again, it's on its own independent layer, so it's not going to matter. And we can just erase back. So you can see we're blending it in now. Blending in a little bit more. Get some of that area right there. Okay, now we're going to filter to blur. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And add a little bit of, it adds a little bit more of a blending mode in there. Okay, hit OK. And I can see I still need a little bit more blending option. Let's see, let's bring down the opacity. Make that size a little, that brush a little bit bigger. Oh, that's just too big. Go 1500. Okay, good. Option, click this area and just gonna blend it. Click and blend, click and blend. Okay, looking pretty good. All right. So now we're gonna edit, transform to scale just to bring it up in this area because when we blurred it, we lose a little bit of the edge. Okay, good. Command minus. And I think I'm going to crop this image a little bit. Bring it into the edge, the sides right there. Okay, good. Now I'm going to erase the part that's covering up Gloria. Okay, and just take a pass over that. I think it's covering up the hair and the arm. Maybe the face. Good. Oh, you can see there's something right there. I'm just switching on and off to make sure that you're getting everything off of there that you need to. Again, preserving a Photoshop file just in case you made a mistake is always good. And I just want to blend in that background a little bit more here. Bringing the opacity down a little bit more just to give it a nice little subtle tonal change in the background. Okay, there you go. That's how you can extend your background. It really just depends when you're photographing your subject. I know a lot of people say crop in camera, but this is one of the reasons why I don't crop in camera all the time. I crop it just enough so that I have some more background on the top of the head and the sides of the body. So just in case I need to extend the background on that one because I want to use it for my marketing, especially if it's a really great shot, I can do that. This works for vertical images, it works for horizontal images. I do the same thing. I make sure I have a little bit of an area around the body of the background so that I can do this. I know a lot of people right now are probably saying, why won't you crop in camera? You're losing the integrity of the image. You're not getting the sharpness. I rarely ever run into that problem. And then when I go and print them, I don't have any reproduction problems either. It's really just, this was something that I put into the way I shoot as part of my process because I do a lot of my own marketing. So I will have to blend, extend backgrounds. So this just is one way to do it. Okay, well, I hope that helped you out with your Photoshop editing. I'm sorry this one's a really long tutorial. It's about an hour and a half almost. But it gives you some step-by-steps in how to do your own editing in Photoshop. Again, there's a lot of other ways to do this, but this is just the basics. So I hope this helps. Enjoy it. Have some fun. Talk to you later.